And we're live for another edition of The Inside Edge. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Paul Zwaska. I'm the host of The Inside Edge for Edge here. And today we no holds barred here. We're having Tom Burns the whole show. The whole show. Not just 10 minutes, not just 15, the whole show. He's making a cameo appearance here, and we're really excited about it. Welcome back, Tommy.
Welcome back. Another edition of the Grumpy Old Groundskeepers.
Yeah. It's been a while since you've been out here. It's been a couple of months.
Yeah.
But you've been a busy boy, and everybody at this point in time is starting to wind down. Despite the look behind me here of 85 degrees in Wisconsin in the end of September, early October, you wouldn't think that we're about to jump into fall or early winter, but hopefully it's coming at some point. But a lot of leagues are closed down at this point. There are some fall ball leagues that are taking place around the country. And it was certainly with this warm weather, a lot of people are probably staying on the diamond, maybe a little bit longer than usual. But, at some point, everybody's got to shut down. And the question is, do you just walk away because you're so tired of the season, you can't wait to get the heck away from it, and, you'll deal with it next spring, or is it a lot smarter to get some of that work done now, and you'll be all the better for it come next spring when it's a wetter season and it might get a little bit harder to get work done on your facilities. So Edge has created this handy little checklist where you can go ahead and print that off so you've got it, and you can use that as you're going through everything that you need to do at your ball field. But starting with the verticals, so the first thing and when Luke Yoder and myself created this document, and when we did this, we kind of went in the order of what would I be doing if I was shutting down my ballpark. So it's, to a certain degree, it's kind of in chronological order. But first things first, you get some of the basics out of the way with the verticals, inspecting and repairing, replacing fencing to make sure you're maintaining safety. And then the big things that I typically see, there are two things. Usually it's the backstop at the base. If there's chain link fence down there, it gets curved in that back portion from balls constantly going back there. Or it's fencing along the foul territories where coaches have set up soft toss with their kids or hitting off the tee into the fence, which is a big no-no.
See that all the time.
And every facility manager I know of that I've ever seen, it makes them pull their hair out, thus the reason. This is a situation where signage can be of good value to you. Signage that's, big enough and in their face along those foul territories and anywhere that you see that coaches tend to set up to do that kind of thing. Obviously, it's the best way is to personally go up to them and say, hey, cut us a break here.
If we can get a soft toss net,
yes.
That's another good thing.
Yes,
it really is a safety problem, because if somebody goes down for a ball, and generally that fence gets concave, and the top or the bottom of it, where all the sharp edges are, bend out towards the field, so they get an ankle rolled in there. It really is a safety problem, and you have to make them cognizant of that issue.
Yes, exactly. I lost my train of thought when you're bringing that up. With the backstop, this is an argument for having backstop pads or a knee wall that's in there for that bottom portion, so you don't get that chain link fence kicking out in there. Any of those kind of things to prevent that kind of stuff is certainly helpful, because let's face it, chain link fence is incredibly expensive. And anytime you've got to do fencing repair, you're going to pay a pretty penny for it. So keep up on your maintenance. And it is, as Tom brought up, it is a safety factor. And not just in that way. There's lots of other things that are problems with fencing. For instance, fence cap. It's really inexpensive. It kind of decorates the ballpark, puts some color to it. But it's really important for protecting the players on chain link fences from, the top rail you've got those spines sticking up from the chain link fence, and I've heard stories about coaches have told me about players who have gone up on like a 6 or 7 foot fence to catch a ball, and they catch that right down here. And I've heard of a couple different ball players in their high school and college years that have had their careers ruined by that, from the damage that's done when they go up and get hung up on that. So, spend a few extra dollars to put some fence cap on those fences. It'll dress up your ballpark, and at the same time, it'll add safety for the ball players. Let's move on to another portion of the fencing. Commonly, a lot of places put up windscreen, and end of the season is a good time to inspect those windscreens. If you've got to replace them, maybe they've faded, or the panels are worn, or the hems along the edges have ripped apart. There's no sense leaving it up there all winter to get torn out and screwed up. So pull those down, and you can place an order for them. Either in the fall, or you can wait till spring to place that order. But just get them off the fence. All they're doing is adding extra wind load on the fence if they're left up during the wintertime. Anything to add to that, Tommy?
Plus the UV degradation.
Yes.
The different humidity changes in the winter, where you can get real wet and real dry, and that all, can contribute to dry rot. So
I
anytime
would
you can,
imagine.
when you can take that down, just extending the life of your windscreens
Correct.
and netting if you can. Anywhere you've
Yep.
got netting, if you can remove it and it's not too big of a deal, it's probably a good idea to do that.
Yeah.
If it's in your
I would assume that the saltwater air along the coastlines also wreak havoc on those fabrics. Do they,
it
Tom?
could, yeah.
We
And
don't have a lot of salt. We don't have a lot of salt water up here in the Midwest.
well, I don't in North Texas either, but
True.
but you get there's wind load on windscreens or on netting, believe it or
Oh
not.
yeah, absolutely,
And
absolutely.
it's that much less time it's out in the weather. It's that much less time it's susceptible to dry rot.
Yep.
Some of your backstop netting, if you get by a quality net, and you can always get it re-dipped, and that's something that will extend the life of that windscreen or that netting also.
Yeah, which leads us into the next checkbox in inspecting all netting and rigging for proper operation and replace worn and weathered items. Not just the netting, Tom, but also the rigging.
Yeah,
You'll see a lot of
exactly.
times the pulleys and the cam locks and those things like that can dry rot as well over time. It's why back at my previous employment where we built batting cages and windscreen, big windscreen uh, batter's eyes, things like that. We used the best sailing hardware there was because those are designed to really withstand the harsh elements.
Yeah.
And even those, you'd get 10 years out of them at our little league, and we'd have to replace them after that. So, and rope will get really, the ropes on those will get really brittle,
Yeah.
just like the net will.
Cable connections, just things like that. Make
Yeah,
sure that they're secured.
yeah. The other thing I
Sometimes
would also,
get frayed and go ahead.
yeah, the other thing I would also recommend to people, and I've seen this not frequently, but enough to comment on it, is uh, people who build backstops with the net all the way down to the ground. That's not a good option to make. If a designer comes to you with that kind of a design, I would strongly urge you to reject that and get something with a knee wall. And why is that a problem? Because when it comes down to the ground, there's a higher risk of it being damaged more quickly. If not from kids and whatever playing around it, more importantly, it's from mice and rabbits who are notoriously going in and chewing on those nets. And that's another reason why netting is always something that I always advocate that you take down or tie up or whatever you've got to do to get it up out of the way, off of rodents getting at it and chewing on it. And again, like Tom said, we at our little league we dropped our backstops had 10-foot high chain link fence at the bottom, and then the rest was netting all the way. We would drop the netting down and ball it up on the top of the fence. It's up out of the way from the rodents, but more importantly, it takes all that wind load off of those poles during the wintertime. Your strongest winds quite frequently come during the wintertime, with the exception, of course, thunderstorms in the summertime. But you get a lot of strong winds in the wintertime, and not just the netting, but the poles and everything else. All that wind load takes a toll over the course of time. So when you can take those items down, that's great. We get into the next line. We talk about the batting cage nets. The exact same thing, and even more so with batting cage nets. We really frequently see that rodent damage with batting cages. So that's another place where, if you can, take those nets down for the winter. It'll relieve the stress off the poles. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen an ice storm go through and just totally cave in a batting cage, literally bend the poles from the weight of the net that's been encrusted in ice. For those people who are in ice-prone areas of the U.S. Finally, the last thing on the verticals is if you got any wall padding, I always recommend taking that wall padding down, because different kinds of trash and dirt get behind it during the course of the season. So we typically will take ours down and either store them for the winter in an interior building, or we'll clean them and then put them back up, rehang them. Peanut shells and all kinds of stuff get back there behind the wall pads, and all kinds of other gunk, and you just want to make sure you de-gunkify your wall pads.
You can also inspect the connections too.
Make any repairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, make any repairs on the wall padding itself, or you might find that you may have to send it out to have it recovered as well. So that's just a good time to get all that stuff down, so you're not, doing it at the last minute in the early spring. So that kind of takes care of the vertical portions of the ball field. Now we move on to the more exciting stuff, and that's the horizontals of the field. And first thing up on the list here is inspecting base and base anchors and replacing those as needed. Tom, you want to take the lead on this, or you want me to carry on?
Yeah, we could do that. You want to inspect the depth of them, make sure that they're at the proper depth, make sure they haven't been damaged by a nail drag. If the concrete is, however you anchor that into the ground, the concrete is cracked or whatever, it may be a good idea to dig around it and just inspect that from time to time. I think you can put the pitching rubbers and the home plates in the same category. Make sure that your home plate doesn't have a lip coming up, that it hasn't buckled. Pitching rubber, the same thing. Maybe a good time to either turn a four-sided rubber or decide whether you need to replace it altogether. That's a good time to do it. It has time to settle in and make sure that it's all your distances are at the right level and the right dimension. Just make something easier to do at that time of year than worrying about doing it in the spring.
Yeah. The one of the common things you'll see up here in the northern half of the country, where we get frost down to certain depths, is you'll see the home plates curl in, the points, the corners of them curl in. There is an answer to that. There is a great product out there. It's solid rubber, 40 pounds of solid rubber. There's nothing that's going to bend these things. The Bulldog home plates. If you struggle with issues with your home plates cupping like that, holding water, or becoming a tripping hazard as well, you might look at putting in one of those Bulldog home plates. You'll see the similar thing happen on pitching rubbers. A lot of the lower priced pitching rubbers, that the core that they take out in the center is really large, so that there's just a very thin amount of rubber up right down the center of those pitching rubbers, and they'll tend to bubble to the point where you can't, if you were to put a level on the top of that rubber, you can't get a level, because it's just kind of teeter-tottering on that bubble. Again, the thicker rubbers that are available out there. Again, Bulldog is one of those companies that does those. That stops all of those issues that you have. So, and the beautiful thing is when you get something like that, it lasts a long time.
Yeah.
When you've got that much rubber in it and the quality rubber that's in it, these things will last. I've had them in our Little League field 10, 15 years at least on some of these things. And that's, people might complain about the cost of them at the beginning, but in the long haul, you're saving a lot of money between the labor it is to change it every time and the cost of continuously buying home plates and pitching rubbers. Just goes a long way and makes your work a lot easier. Back to the base anchors real quick. The other one thing that you should also look at is make sure that these base anchors aren't rusting, because commonly what I see when base anchors do fail, they'll split along one of the corners of the sleeve from rust and break away. So you want to make sure that's an important one, because it can come into a liability situation if somebody gets hurt on a base, sliding into a base. One of the things that the insurance company is going to ask about is, well, what kind of maintenance have you been doing on it? Do you have a record of doing maintenance to it or inspecting it at the very least? That kind of thing. It's always good to keep a log for that to CYA yourself and make sure that you guys have been doing your proper due diligence of maintaining those base anchors. So also we did put out a video within the past month on changing out base anchors. If you get a chance, check it out. I don't know if our producer can put up a link to it on the video here, but it's something they can look at, and where we went out one day and replaced the anchors on a recreational ball field. Now we get into some of the nitty gritty stuff that really should happen every fall on your field. And Tom, I'm going to ask you: is this something? Did you do this every year on your ball fields after the season?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you did it during the season, but
Yeah, a little bit of lip maintenance on a periodic schedule helps it from being a huge job. Um, blowing out the lips with a hose, removing the top dressing off your infield skin. If you do that in the fall, and then there's another checklist item here: erect barriers on your infield skin. So
yep.
once you've got those lips back into place, using some kind of a barrier like a bender board.
You can use
There's a number of
wattles.
ways you can do it.
Yeah, wattles
Wattles.
and silt fence. There's all kinds
Yeah,
of different barriers. You can even put up a 1-inch hose around the edge, just something to stop that top dressing material from blowing off into
and
the turf edges.
even when you take off the top dressing, and you roll your infield, pack it down through freeze and thaw, temperature variations, wind,
Rainfall pelting it. Yep.
rainfall. It tends to get a little bit of a loose soil up on top of it. That soil can blow off into the lip when we get these big winter storms coming through. Uh, it's just a good idea if nobody's going to be playing on that field throughout the winter. Just a good idea to keep that migration down to a minimum.
Yeah. I mean, and the pro levels, we have the luxury of being able to just sweep off all that top dressing and remove it. Obviously, at the recreational level, most people aren't going to have that kind of luxury to do that. So you have to learn how to manage it in place. And the best way to do that really is with some kind of a barrier along the edges to keep it from blowing off of the infield into the not foul territories, into the grass edges, and building your lips back up over the course of the winter. Even if you get just 90% of it, or the majority, some of it's going to get through it sooner or later. So
And
so
if you're in a situation where you really can't put a barrier up, just periodically, maybe once a month, coming out and either brooming those edges, blowing them out with a hose. Doesn't take that long, but it'll save a huge problem later on in the spring.
it'll take long in the north if there's snow cover. Of course, if there's
Yeah,
snow cover, that's the beauty.
that's the
That's the beauty
beauty.
of the
It's
north.
not
If
going
you've
to
got
blow.
snow cover, you're not going to lose anything. But
Yeah,
if you're down a little farther south in the northern tier of states, you could have any kind of a winter. You never know. And, yeah, you may have to go out there. If it's a winter where you're not getting any snow, it might behoove you to go out there and just kind of, and one of the tools I love using for that is a power broom, like
Mm-hmm.
an Echo power broom along those edges. But yeah, keeping those edges as clean as possible. And the other thing you can do, by the way, is you can and I used to do this when we would sod our edges back in during the course of the season. You'd trim it out and then we'd have to sod it back in. We left that lip. We didn't backfill everything in so that when the top dressing, what was left on the surface, blew or washed down to the grass edge, it would fall into that kind of a moat ahead of the sod, and wouldn't get up into the grass either. So that's another way to take care of that. But that's what we talk about here. Trim all the turf edges on your infield around the warning track. Now, you could save that till the following spring. And to be honest with you, it's probably going to be easier then, because the ground is pretty saturated usually in the spring, and in the fall it's usually pretty dry, and it's a lot harder to get your edger through there. And that you can take your pick. You could do that fall or spring, the trimming of your turf edges. But it's certainly a lot easier in the spring when the ground is a little softer. Releveling your infield skin and baselines to reestablish the surface grade, and that's important. We want to keep that water moving off that surface over the course of the winter, and it's going to slow your reentry onto that field in the spring if you have not corrected the surface grade. If those low spots are sitting there all winter, they're going to be the last thing to dry out, and you're going to be waiting on those babies for a while in the spring if you don't get everything graded so you've got a nice consistent slope across that infield surface. Tommy?
Yeah, and also you've got that. It's the best time to amend your infield soil to improve the drainage. So correct all your low spots, correct all your high spots. If you're going to add more soil or kind of renovate your soil to upgrade the mixture, it's a great time to do it because it's got plenty of time to level out and settle over the winter time. So real good
Coagulate.
time to do that. Yes. However you want to say.
Yeah.
Homogenize.
There you go. Let's see here. Well, we've covered the barriers on the infield skin edge, so we're moving right along here.
Okay, mounds. Good time to renovate your pitching mounds. Put them back into game ready shape over the winter time. Again, it gives the clay time to settle in. It's one less thing you have to do in the spring. Now you will have to go back in and make sure that clay is compacted properly. It's got proper moisture in it. But you're doing the bulk of the work in the winter or in the fall. So it's gonna be there in the winter. It's not gonna erode if you tarp it securely. Just one more thing, home plate, and I put that in the same category. If you go out and you have to reclay the batter's boxes or the catcher's box, re-level the whole home plate circle so you've got positive drainage on it. Just one less thing that you have to do in the spring, and it makes opening up the field much easier.
Yeah. Now in the north, it's a little different. You can go ahead and renovate those mounted plates if you have time before the weather goes bad. You can certainly jump on that project. The first thing I typically do is sweep off all the top dressing off of both and get rid of it because it's been contaminated with ground up clay from the players' cleats and whatnot. So it's you might as well start brand new the following season. So we get rid of that first, cut down the high spots, rehydrate more than anything else, because a lot of times you're being really chintzy with water during the season when you really shouldn't be. You really should be adding quite a bit, but a lot of times you're limited by time or manpower, and you just don't have the time. Which is why on the home plates, I always leave my home plates open during the wintertime. They're flat for the most part, and you're not going to get a ton of wash off that surface. But it's the one time of the year when you can work that moisture down really deep, uh, and especially if you get a snow cover on it, so that when it melts, it's just a slow seepage into that home plate area the following spring. It's a good way to get good deep moisture in there. So especially up here in the north, I always keep it open during that time to allow as much moisture in there. Now on the mound, that's a different story. I never leave the mound open because of the fact that it is a mound, and if you leave it open, material's gonna wash off of it, blow off of it. So to protect my turf edges around the mound from building up from the soil and top dressing, any top dressing that might float up from the surface, from that getting down into the grass, I always keep that covered. Um, then in the spring, when we come back in here in the north, of course, you've got the frost heave, the freeze thaw cycle that'll lift that soil. If you've done all that work, all that prep work in the spring or in the fall, you can simply go back and roll or take a plate compactor, whatever it is that you're going to use, and recompact those two areas. Um, if you didn't have time to repair the mountain home plates before the end of the year, it's a good time to actually go in there after the freeze thaw and pull off whatever's loose, because quite frequently you'll get a layer there. Even if you sweep off the top dressing, there's going to be a layer there, very shallow, maybe quarter inch, where top dressing has been pressed into that clay, and the freeze thaw cycle will pop that and loosen it up, and so you can go in there and just scrape that off in the following spring, and you're down to really fresh virgin clay, and then you can bring it back up to grade using more brand new clay out of the bag, and getting it absolutely perfect. So it is a little different up here in the north with the freeze thaw cycle. You're going to get heaving, and you're going to get some poofing, just a little bit of rolling, and you're good to go. So, where are we? We are
Irrigation
on
system.
irrigation. Yes,
So
that's
if
correct.
you're in the north where you need to blow out your irrigation system because of extended freezing temperatures, we don't have that problem down here in the south. But what I like to do is I like to do a check on my irrigation system, make sure all the heads are operational, make sure that they are up to grade, check the quick couplers. We generally do not
Shut your
drain our
system off.
system, shut it
Yeah.
down, because I like to water ahead of a big cold snap. Because if you get your field up to field capacity, there's less air, and a dry freeze is always worse on warm season grass than a wet freeze. Once you have all that water in there, the cold air can't penetrate as deeply, and it lessens the chance for winter kill. Up in the north, you're
Yep.
completely different. Paul, you can discuss that.
Yep. The cool season turf can take it. Uh, I wait till the very last possible minute to blow out my irrigation systems. I like to have the ability. For instance, this fall here, where we're at right now up here, we're having a heck of a drought. And we're 85 degrees here in the beginning of October, way way above normal. So, and very low humidity. So the water's being sucked out of the ground. So we're hydrating as much as possible. Normally, at the Little League when I was there, we typically blew out by uh, usually the first week of November. Was when it got cold enough that we had a couple of exposed pipes above ground that caused us to have to blow out at that time. If everything was below ground, we'd be good. We could go maybe a week or two longer. But with a couple of pipes that are exposed out of the ground, we had to be very careful about that. Um, but like I said, when you get into these dry falls, when you get into a real dry fall, you want to, just like Tom does, you want to hydrate that field as much as possible going into winter. It's just going to help reduce the amount of winter desiccation that you get, kind of like a freeze drying of the grass, those kind of things. So Anyways,
Surface drains, catch basins around the field. Make sure they're level. Clean out any debris. Make sure you have good drainage. Make sure you check your dugouts. Whatever trash is around, clean it out.
yeah,
Uh,
that's
the
that was
window blow leaves in there. So that's something that you really have to stay on top of. You can't. It's probably not just a one-time deal. You're gonna have to
no.
check it periodically.
We had several
Papers come from everywhere. Leaves come from everywhere. So it's something you just have to keep your eye on.
we had several catch basins at the Little League complex, and it's not the most pleasant of jobs to clean those out because whatever is in there really reeks.
Yeah,
Make sure you wear gloves, waterproof gloves when you clean those out. But it is absolutely important to keep those things clear and open. And like Tom
yeah,
said, we don't just do it at the end of fall, but people, a lot of times when the season's over, people just think they can just walk away from a ball field. No, there's maintenance that you have to
yeah,
do before you close up the ballpark, and this is an important one. You want to make sure that your drains are in good condition going into this into the wintertime. And our crew worked till pretty much about that first week in November. So by that time, all the leaves were down, so we could make sure that everything was clear and those drains were totally cleared up of all dry foliage and all the other crap that was left that had floated down there during the last month or two of the season.
in my area here, the leaves really don't all fall till probably sometime in December, in
Yeah.
mid-December. And even then, you're going to get the random leaves that just blow out all over the place. If you've got perimeter drains, warning track can migrate into there and clog them up. So it's just a good idea to check them all.
Yeah. So hopefully you've gotten all that done and you can kick back and say, "Oh, okay, now I can rest." Winter's come, and that's the beauty of baseball and softball is that there's a nice off season in the cold part of the year.
Yeah,
And you can go sit in the shop for a while and do inside chores until you're nipping at the bud by February to get back out on the field. But in the shop, obviously, the first thing that you got to think about is maintaining your equipment, and hopefully, you're doing a good job of maintaining your equipment and things like all your oil changes, engine tune-ups, things like that. If your equipment's going to be sitting around for quite a while, like it is up here in the northern part of the country, either take the batteries out, or if you leave them in, either way, put a battery minder on them to give them a slow trickle charge. Sometimes they're called trickle chargers, but a lot of people call them battery minders to keep them from draining down to nothing. It's better for the battery. So those kind of things. If you've got on your mowers, you've got blades that got to be sharpened. Whether it's reel mowers, reels you're probably sending out to have somebody sharpen them for you. If they're regular rotary blades, you might be sharpening them yourself, or you're sending them into your equipment supplier to do that as well. Those kind of things. And then, of course, you're just checking if you got hydraulics involved in any piece of equipment, you want to be checking the hoses, connections, all that kind of stuff. Tommy,
good,
anything else from a shop standpoint?
a good time to change filters
Yep.
and everything. Check your air filters. Uh, Check your maintenance schedule on hydraulic filters, oils, bearings. For small equipment like walk behind mowers and things like that, if you're not going to start them up every once in a while, I would drain the gas tank. Uh,
Yeah. I do that
to
with
make
everything
sure,
anyways. Yeah.
yeah, make sure your fuel doesn't go bad. Change fuel filters, things like that, and just stay on top of everything. Tire pressures, make sure that those are uh, up to standard. Otherwise, if you let the tires go down, you got a flat spot. You could impact the balance of the tire, end up with a flat spot on your tires. So just a good idea to periodically go through the
Yep.
equipment, make sure everything's operational, make sure everything's put away for the winter and in good shape for the spring.
And then you can spend your time reading all your turf magazines that most of you probably don't get. But if you did, it's a good time to learn some things about turf, checking up on your program, your fertility program. And I'm sure a lot of you folks in the recreational world don't deal a lot with distributors who handle products for maintaining turf grass. But I would strongly advise that you find who the local distributors are of turf products, because they can really help you out in maintaining your field. They're very knowledgeable. They're very willing to teach you what you've got going on, if there's a problem, or how to improve the thickness of your turf, the performance of your turf, what are the better grass seeds to use on there. Um, I implore you not to go buy grass seed from the big box stores, because most of those grass seeds are not of the highest quality. Um, Tom, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'd say maybe it's a good time to take a soil test too, at the end of the
Yeah,
year. See
yeah,
where
for
your,
fertility purposes.
yeah, see where your needs are. Talk to your supplier about getting a program. Think about last year. How did my grass perform? What do I want to do better? And then have a soil test that you can look at year to year and see how your soil changes. You may have a real changeable soil, or you may have one that's pretty stable, and you can get away with less fertilization. Uh, Generally, if like down here, we have a lot of sandy soils. There's a lot of clay soils, and there's a lot of sandy soils. Sandy soils, you have to fertilize differently, a little more frequently, with less amounts of fertilizer. If you've got a heavier clay soil, you could probably get away with 2 or 3 fertilizations a year. Another good thing is to look at any kind of pre-emergent program that you need to be on.
Mhm.
So these guys can help you out with that.
Yeah, it's when people talk to me about what can I do to improve my field quickly, one of the things that I bring up to them is meeting with a distributor rep, have them talk to you about what you're doing, what you're using. It's not a ton of money to take a ball field and make it just a little bit better,
Yep.
with just some grass seed that's applied at the proper time and installed properly, uh, and timed out fertilizer correctly. Uh, those few small things right there can make a huge difference in the quality of your playing surface. It's going to be more forgiving. It's going to be a denser turf. It's going to be a safer field for kids to play on and adults to play on. Adds more cushion. All those things, and it just doesn't take a lot of, in my opinion, it doesn't take a lot of effort. But just something to think about.
And
So
another thing too is be honest with them. Let them know what your budget is,
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
because you
they'll
can,
work. They'll work
yeah,
with it.
and different fertilizers, you can use a different program for a different budget. Just be honest with them, and try to figure out what's the best plan that fits in your budget, fits your needs. It's not one size fits all. Everybody's kind of in a different situation.
And all of these distributors typically have early order programs, which are going on right now, typically
Yeah.
from September through December. Most of these distributors, if not all of them, have some type of an early order program, whether it's for grass seed, fertilizer, turf chemicals, all those kind of things. Um, Take a look into that, and you can save your organization a lot of money in that way, as well. And a lot of times there's also discounts offered during those early order programs. Finally, expand your knowledge. When I came up in turf in the early '80s, and when Tom came up in the early 1900s, there wasn't any internet, and so there was no place to turn back in those days to learn information. But now there's so much on the internet. Good and bad, but most of it's good. And poke around there and learn some things. Um, get involved. You might think, okay, I'm only a little league. It's kind of strange that I'm going to go to a sports field managers conference. No, I've talked to little league people all the time at these both the national and the regional conferences. People who really want to make their fields better, so they come to these professional associations to learn more, and anybody's willing to talk to you. And Tom will tell you, you'll learn the most in the bars. That's where Tom got his degree.
Yeah, in many ways, and
Yeah,
any kind of social event that they have there, there's uh, great talks about
great
different
networking.
subjects. Networking is the biggest thing I think that I've gotten out of there. You meet different
Absolutely.
people that have had the same problem that you've had, can walk you through how they did it. Now, the one thing I will caution you is that when you go to some of these things, you're going to hear a lot of information. Don't try to do everything that somebody
Right.
says. Pick out two or three things that will make an immediate impact on your ballpark. Then you can expand that into other things. But what you really want to do is, do everything you can have to have a safe field. Uh, if your field plays safe, generally it's going to look pretty good. Sometimes we get bogged down and trying to do all these fancy different things with mowing patterns and other things, but learn the fundamentals and then rely on those fundamentals, and you won't go wrong.
Yeah. When I was working with the Little League here, I actually sent our two main ground guys every year down to the Nationals. That was
Hmm.
all built into the budget at the Little League. Uh, I believe they had to. Let's see, we paid for their flight and hotel. They paid for their food and everything else beyond that. But it was a great deal. And were young guys in their early 20s. But they learned a lot. Like Tom said, that networking is so important down there because you're going to meet people from all over the country, but more importantly, you're going to meet people from your area. And it doesn't have to be the national conference. You can go.
Yep.
There's lots of regional and state conferences. There's the park and recs. There's the sports field managers. There's who else have we got? The turf. What am I thinking of here?
Producers and
Turf, not turf producers, but the turf councils.
yeah,
There's lots of different ones on there, and look them up and do some research on the internet, and you'll find them. And it's well worth it. So, but that's it. That's the whole checklist. That's your homework for the next several months. I'm not gonna harp on you. This is the one time. Do it right or don't do it at all. Uh, But with that, Tom, hey, we thank you for joining us today, and
anytime.
appreciate you giving your 2 cents worth. You've got a lot of history in this business, and a lot at several different ballparks, and that all helps in contributing to our show here. And as far as everybody else is concerned, thank you for joining us today, and we'll be back again here in about another month with another show. So we'll see you then. That's a wrap for this episode of The Inside Edge, brought to you by DuraEdge. Whether you're maintaining a local recreational ball field or something bigger, we're here to help you on your journey to create safer, easier to maintain, and more playable ball fields. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, leave a comment or email us at insideedge@duraedge.com. Be sure to follow @DuraEdge Products on social media for more tips and insights. We'll see you on the next episode.